Welcome to the realm of science fiction. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Enjoy listening. Randall Greenwood had never been one to refuse a task, whether it was the command of a lord, the call of his people, or the mysterious request of a stranger. He had always knelt in acceptance. But this time, the one before whom he bent his knee was neither a king nor a commander. It was Kora. Her lavender-hued skin, long braided hair, and piercing gaze set her apart from anyone Randall had ever knelt before. She was not of this world, not just in appearance, but in her very essence. Her shimmering skin, illuminated by the flickering light of shadowed lanterns, seemed to claim a grandeur that belonged to a realm far beyond his own. When Kora heard the creak of Randall's metal armor, her lips curled into a sly smile. She reached out, her fingers brushing through his hair. "Warriors like you are not usually accustomed to obedience," she said, her voice mocking yet soft. Randall did not lift his head, only taking a deep breath. "Who are you?" Kora's footsteps echoed on the wooden platform as she moved. Her boots clicked with a light but deliberate rhythm. "You do not know me, but I know you, Randall Greenwood," she said. "Loyalty runs through your veins. Men like you are always searching for a master." Randall clenched his teeth. "If you've come to mock me, you've chosen the wrong man." Kora leaned down, her fingers tilting his chin upward, forcing him to meet her gaze. "No, I've chosen you. Because your loyalty deserves to be spent on someone worthy." Randall narrowed his eyes. "And that someone is you?" Kora laughed, the sound reverberating off the wooden walls of the room. "Yes, and very soon you will come to accept that." Randall instinctively reached for his sword, only to find his hands empty. Kora had not come merely to give him a task, she had come to test him. Should he obey? Or should he, for the first time in his life, refuse? The wooden floor beneath his knees felt cold. He had carried the weight of armor for years, but kneeling before Kora felt heavier than any battle he had fought. The lavender-skinned woman looked down at him. Her stance was challenging, yet there was an odd invitation in her presence. Randall took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on the ground. "Why have you chosen me?" he asked. Kora studied him, her arms crossed, golden bracelets glinting in the light. "It's good that you ask questions," she said softly. "Even better that you didn't reach for your sword." Randall frowned. "I'm not afraid of you." Kora tilted her head. "You should be. Fear would keep you alive." Randall flinched, but kept his expression steady. Was she a creature, a leader, or an invader? He couldn't tell. But one thing was clear, this woman was not of Earth. Kora began to walk around the room, the flickering lamplight casting dancing shadows. "A warrior must always have a cause. What is yours, Randall?" Randall's jaw tightened, the sound of steel faintly creaking. "To defend what I believe in," he said curtly. Kora stopped. A faint smile played on her lips. "And do you know what you believe in now?" Randall didn't answer. Because he didn't know, Kora took another step, now standing directly in front of him. She clasped her hands behind her back and tilted her head. "Listen, warrior. I do not come from the world, you know. Our rules are different, but we share a common enemy. I have an offer for you." Randall's eyes narrowed. "What offer?" Kora hesitated for a moment, then parted her lips. "Your humanity is under threat, Randall Greenwood, and I can fight that threat, but I need a warrior. Someone strong, loyal, and without doubt." Randall thought for a moment. "And that someone is me?" Kora knelt, bringing herself to his eye level. Her sharp violet eyes locked onto his. "Yes, but first you must prove that you are truly ready to serve me." Randall inclined his head slightly. "How?" Kora smiled faintly. "By following me." She stood and began to walk. Randall watched her, this woman leading him into the unknown. He hesitated for a moment, then rose and followed. He had no weapon, no shield, only his instincts and the uncertain fate this woman offered. The night would be long. Randall followed Kora with heavy steps. When they reached the end of the dimly lit wooden hall, a large, arched door silently opened at her gesture. Beyond it lay darkness and the unknown. "Where does this lead?" Randall asked hesitantly. Kora stopped and turned her head toward him. Questions are good, but some answers only reveal themselves when you take the first step. Randall sighed. The battle within him was far from over. But the greatest wars were not always fought with swords. Sometimes they were fought with decisions. Finally, he decided to trust his instincts and stepped into the darkness after Kora. As they entered, Randall's eyes struggled to adjust, but within seconds, the surroundings began to take shape. They stood in a massive hall. Stalactites hung from the ceiling, and shadowed pillars surrounded them. The floor was lined with glowing blue crystals, their energy pulsing like waves of light. "This place," Randall murmured. "I don't think this is on Earth." Kora chuckled softly. "Because it isn't." Randall froze. His breath quickened. "What did you say?" Kora took a step forward, leaning against one of the massive stone pillars. "Beyond Earth, in its shadows, there are many beings. We are not just the stars you see in the sky. We live among them." Randall's doubts multiplied. "Where have you brought me?" Kora raised her hand, and a halo of shimmering energy appeared in the air. "This is my world, different from yours, but now a reality you are part of." Randall reached for his sword, but he was still unarmed. This time, he felt more vulnerable than ever. "Why am I here?" Kora's gaze locked onto his. "Because the fate of your humanity is intertwined with this world." A moment of silence passed. Randall narrowed his eyes, scanning the surroundings. The blue light from the crystals pulsed, as if echoing with energy. Kora continued, "Your people look to the sky, trying to explore the cosmos. But you don't know what awaits you. I am here to warn you." Randall's brow furrowed. "Why? Why do you care about us?" Kora turned to face him. For the first time, the mockery in her expression faded, replaced by seriousness. "Because my people were once like yours. We wanted to grow, to explore. But we underestimated what lived beyond the sky." Randall's breath quickened. "Who are they?" Kora's eyes narrowed. "The hunters." The air seemed to grow colder. The light from the crystals flickered, as if the very word had cast a threat into the atmosphere. "They are conquerors," Kora continued. "Earth has not yet caught their attention. But it will. Because your people are looking to the sky more than ever, asking more questions." Randall clenched his fists. "And you think you can stop them?" Kora smiled, but this time it sent a chill down Randall's spine. "I am one of the last who fights to stop them." Silence fell. Randall's mind raced with questions. But the most pressing one was, should he join this war? Kora took a step forward. "If you choose to serve me, I will show you the truth of this war. But you must make a choice, Randall Greenwood." Randall took a step back. The battle within him was not over. But one thing was certain. This darkness would change his fate, no matter what. He took a deep breath, steadying his racing heart as he met Kora's gaze. Her face held a challenge, but also a strange patience, as if she was in no rush for his decision. "If I agree to serve you," Randall said cautiously, "what does that mean?" Kora tilted her head. "It means you will become part of our war. You will prepare Earth for the coming threat. But first, I must train you." Randall gritted his teeth. "I am already a warrior." Kora chuckled softly. "You are a human warrior, Randall Greenwood. But that is not enough." Randall crossed his arms. "And if I refuse?" Kora's smile faded. "Then Earth will be caught unprepared, and you will have to watch." Randall thought for a long moment. Should he believe her? Or was he caught in some illusion? But his instincts told him she was not lying. Finally, he nodded slowly. "Very well. I will serve you. But for one reason only, to protect my world." Kora's eyes glimmered faintly. "Then your training begins." She led him to the darkest corner of the massive hall, where ancient armor and weapons hung on the walls. Some were made of metals Randall had never seen. Kora raised her hand. "Choose one." Randall's eyes scanned the swords. He was about to reach for a traditional longsword when one caught his eye. It emitted a faint, pulsating blue light. The blade was made of a metal he did not recognize. "The sword must choose you," Kora said. "Test it." Randall frowned. Choose me? Kora nodded. These are not ordinary weapons. They are shaped by will. If it does not accept you, it will be nothing more than a piece of metal in your hand. Randall gripped the sword slowly. It felt cold, yet strangely alive. As he tried to lift it, a spark shot from the blade, jolting his hand. He wanted to pull away, but Kora's voice stopped him. Do not retreat, warrior. The sword is testing your will. Randall clenched his teeth, holding on with all his strength. Blue sparks danced between his fingers, but he did not let go. After a few seconds, the trembling stopped. The sword rested steadily in his hand. Kora smiled. You've passed the first test. Randall exhaled deeply, still unsure of what had just happened. What's next? He asked. Kora turned, her gaze fixed on a massive door that materialized from the darkness. Now, we go to the place that will truly make you a warrior. The door opened with a deep hum. As Randall looked inside, his instincts told him he was stepping onto a path of no return. But no matter what, he would not turn back. For he was no longer just a warrior. He was now part of Kora's world. When Randall stepped through the door, he found himself in a world unlike anything he had ever seen. The sky was a swirling canvas of blue and purple lights, and the air vibrated with an otherworldly energy. Before them stretched a battlefield, but it was no ordinary battlefield. It was an arena surrounded by towering crystals, their light casting eerie shadows across the ground. And in the center of it all stood a creature, massive, armored, and radiating a hunger for destruction. For a moment, fear gripped Randall's heart, but Kora was by his side. The weapon in your hand is only as strong as your will, she said. If you falter, it will not protect you. Randall took a deep breath and steadied himself. This was his trial. The creature roared and charged, and Randall raised a sword. The blade glowed brighter as it clashed against the creature's armor, sending sparks flying into the air. The battle was long and grueling, but with every strike, Randall grew stronger. Finally, with a decisive blow, he plunged the sword into the creature's weak spot. It let out a final, agonized roar before collapsing. Silence fell over the arena. Kora approached, her eyes studying him carefully. Now, you are truly a warrior, she said, a faint smile playing on her lips. Randall, exhausted but victorious, took Kora's hands in his. I didn't just become a warrior, Kora. I became part of this world. Kora's gaze softened. She looked into his eyes, and for a moment they simply stood there, the weight of their shared journey hanging in the air. Then she nodded slowly. And I want to be part of your world, too. Randall felt a warmth spread through him at her words. Months after the battle, Randall had fully integrated into Kora's world, serving as a bridge between Earth and this distant realm. But the greatest change had been the bond between him and Kora. One day, Kora took Randall beneath a sky filled with stars. The heavens above were a tapestry of swirling blues, purples, and silvers, with constellations that seemed to pulse with life. The air was thick, with an otherworldly energy, and the ground beneath their feet shimmered faintly, as if alive. Randall had grown accustomed to the strange beauty of Kora's world, but this place felt different. It felt sacred. Kora stood silently for a moment, her lavender skin glowing faintly under the starlight. Her long, braided hair swayed gently in the breeze, and her sharp violet eyes reflected the cosmos above. She turned to Randall, her expression softer than he had ever seen it. This is the heart of the stars, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It is where my people come to make the most sacred of vows. Randall looked around, taking in the ethereal beauty of the place. It's incredible, he murmured. But why have you brought me here? Kora hesitated, something Randall had rarely seen her do. She stepped closer to him, her gaze searching his. In my culture, she began, there is a way to declare that you are bound to someone forever. It is not just a promise of loyalty or love. It is a merging of souls, a bond that transcends time and space. Randall's heart skipped a beat. He had grown closer to Kora over the months, their shared battles and struggles forging a connection that went beyond words. But this This was something else entirely. "What are you saying, Kora?" he asked, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Kora reached out and took his hands in hers. Her touch was warm, and a faint glow began to emanate from where their skin met. "I am saying that I want to unite my heart with yours, Randall Greenwood, not just as a warrior to her commander or as allies in a war, but as two souls who have found each other across the vastness of the universe." Randall's breath caught in his throat. He had never been one for grand declarations or poetic words, but in that moment he felt the weight of what Kora was offering. It was more than a bond, it was a promise of eternity. "Kora," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I've spent my life serving others, following orders, and fighting battles that weren't my own. But with you, I found something I never thought I'd have. A purpose that's mine, a home that's mine. And if this is what you want, then I'm ready. I want to be bound to you, not just in this life, but in every life that comes after." Kora's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a rare display of vulnerability from the usually stoic warrior. She nodded, her grip on his hands tightening. "Then let us begin." She guided him to the center of the starlit clearing, where a circle of glowing crystals pulsed in rhythm with their heartbeat. Kora raised her hands, and the crystals responded, their light growing brighter. The air around them hummed with energy, and the stars above seemed to shine even more intensely. "Place your hand over your heart," Kora instructed, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. Randall did as she said, feeling the steady thrum of his heartbeat beneath his palm. Kora mirrored his gesture, her hand resting over her own heart. "Repeat after me," she said. "I, Randall Greenwood, offer my heart, my soul, and my eternal loyalty to you, Kora. From this moment forward, our fates are intertwined, and our bond shall never be broken." Randall repeated the words, his voice strong and clear. As he spoke, he felt a warmth spread through his chest, as if something deep within him was awakening. The crystals around them flared to life, their light enveloping the two of them in a radiant glow. Kora then spoke her own vow, her voice trembling with emotion. "I, Kora of the Stars, offer my heart, my soul, and my eternal loyalty to you, Randall Greenwood. From this moment forward, our fates are intertwined, and our bond shall never be broken." As she finished, the light from the crystals surged, merging with the glow from their hands. Randall felt a strange sensation, as if his very essence was intertwining with Kora's. It wasn't painful. It was exhilarating, like being filled with a warmth and energy he had never known. The light grew brighter and brighter until it was almost blinding, and then with a final pulse, it faded. Randall blinked, his vision slowly adjusting to the dimmer light of the starlit clearing. He looked down at his hands, then at Kora, who was watching him with a mixture of awe and tenderness. "It is done," she said softly. "Our hearts are now one. No matter where we go, no matter what challenges we face, we will always be connected." Randall felt a surge of emotion, unlike anything he had ever experienced. He pulled Kora into his arms, holding her tightly. "I don't know what the future holds," he said, his voice muffled against her hair, "but I know that as long as I'm with you, I can face anything." Kora leaned back slightly, her hands resting on his chest. "And I will always be by your side, Randall, not just as your ally, but as your partner, your equal." They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, the stars above bearing witness to their bond. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them and the promise they had made. In the months that followed, Randall and Kora continued to fight side by side, their bond stronger than ever. They trained together, strategized together, and faced the growing threat of the hunters with unwavering determination. But now, there was something more between them, a connection that went beyond words, beyond actions. It was as if they could sense each other's thoughts, feel each other's emotions, even when they were apart. One evening, as they stood on a hill overlooking the battlefield they had just won, Randall turned to Kora. "Do you ever wonder what will happen when this war is over?" he asked. Kora smiled, her lavender skin glowing in the fading light of the sun. I used to, she admitted, but now I don't worry about it. Because no matter what happens, I know we'll face it together. Randall nodded, a sense of peace settling over him. He had spent so much of his life searching for purpose, for a place where he belonged, and now he had found it not in a kingdom or a battlefield, but in the woman standing beside him. As the stars began to appear in the sky, Kora took his hand. Come, she said, there's something I want to show you. She led him to a secluded grove where a single tree stood, its branches reaching toward the heavens. The tree was unlike anything Randall had ever seen. Its leaves shimmered with a soft, golden light, and its trunk seemed to pulse with energy. This is the tree of eternity, Kora explained. It is said that those who are truly bound will see their future reflected in its light. Randall frowned. Our future? Kora nodded. Close your eyes and focus on our bond. Let the tree show you what lies ahead. Randall did as she said, closing his eyes and focusing on the warmth in his chest, the connection he shared with Kora. At first, there was nothing but darkness. But then images began to form, scenes of peace, of laughter, of a life filled with love and purpose. He saw himself and Kora standing side by side, not as warriors, but as partners. He saw a world where the hunters were no longer a threat, where Earth and Kora's world lived in harmony. When he opened his eyes, Kora was smiling at him. What did you see? She asked. Randall took her hand, his heart full. I saw us, he said simply. Together. Happy. Kora's smile widened, and she leaned in to kiss him. It was a kiss filled with promise, with hope, with the certainty that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. And as the stars shone brightly above them, Randall knew that he had finally found his true purpose, not in serving others, but in standing beside the woman he loved, united in heart, soul, and destiny.